Hi, players. This is Jackie Grant from We Grant Fitness and Health, and we are on the Change and Grow Wellness Show, the show for you, the busy professional who wants to live a healthier, happier life with increased energy and productivity. And this show is sponsored by the amazing women and men of Power Radio Network show. And today we have got Alyx Coble-Frakes, who I'm going to get it completely wrong because I always get people's surnames wrong, who is on with us. And she is a health coach, and she focuses on working with people around stress eating. So today our theme is all around stress eating and how you can overcome that. So welcome, Alyx.
Hello. So happy to be here.
This is so brilliant. It's so good because the thing is, what you're talking about is really close to my heart. As if you've looked at a live before, it is something that I've gone through myself. So it's close to my heart. So it's really amazing to have you on, really. So Alyx, tell us a bit about yourself and all about you and what you do.
Great. Thank you so much. Again, I'm so excited to be here and to be able to share and really help to give people a little bit of clarity if this is something that they're struggling with. So I'm really excited about that. So honestly, my entire life, I had problems with my weight and my health. I was overweight from a young age. I can remember being overweight. You start to get, little kids know. I knew in like elementary school when I was getting chubby, and I started to have feelings and emotions around being overweight, not looking like other kids or not being as slim as other girls in my class, right? So that kind of programming that my body wasn't good enough started at a really young age. It got much worse when I was in high school, and I started a period of yo-yo dieting when I would lose and gain the same 20 to 30 pounds over and over and over and over again. And this happened for about a decade, honestly. So by the time I was about a freshman in high school, all the way until after I graduated college and I returned back from the Peace Corps. So I lived abroad. I went abroad right after I graduated from college. I lived in Peru in South America for 2 years. And I was doing all these great things. I learned a second language as an adult. I was volunteering. I was helping people out. And I still couldn't get my health under control. Like I felt like I was doing good things in the world, but I still had this hanging over my head. So that was really frustrating. And kind of at the same time, all of these other things started happening. My grandma got really sick. So my entire family started to take a deeper look at the health, the sick care, I actually call it, in the United States versus healthcare, because there was nothing about the system that was really trying to promote health and wellness. So I started to really look at what was going on with my own health. And I realized that I was staring down the face of preventable diseases if I didn't change for good. So that led me to this program. I ended up losing 40 pounds and I felt better than ever. But it was a very restrictive program. So it cut out all sugar, all flour, all snacks, 3 meals a day, right? And so this like extreme restriction caused this rebellious side of me and kicked off emotionally. I had binge ate before. I'm not going to pretend like that never happened, but it kicked off an extreme string of binge eating where I didn't gain the weight back, but because I would eat so clean, like during Monday through Friday, and then Friday night, I would eat an entire bag of chips and like a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and then fall asleep crying, miserable, right? To repeat the whole cycle over again. And so I decided that I didn't want to do that, like that there had to be a way to maintain a healthier weight, but not be so restrictive and not have such pressure over myself. And what I started to uncover was I thought being thin would make me happy.
Yes.
Right? I thought, wow, you know what? I'm thin. I'm happy. Cool. Like that's what everyone talks about. The magazines, like the media, everyone makes it look like all you have to do is be thin. Yeah. So I had finally been like the thinnest I'd been in my adult life, and I wasn't happy, which is what kicked off the binge eating, right? And so I had to figure out, what is my body actually asking me for? What are my emotions actually pointing me towards, and do that, because cheap food is an extremely cheap substitute for human connection, for human love, for our own acceptance. And so once I started to figure that out, the binge eating fell away pretty much on its own.
Brilliant. Brilliant. That's amazing. That's amazing. And so tell us about, I mean, because now the thing is you've got so much experience of your own, you know, to bring to the world and bring to people. What kind of breakthroughs have you had with other people?
This has been so great. That doing this work with clients has just been life transformational, life changing for people, right? As it was for me, because people started to figure out that they also were using food as a cheap substitute, or maybe they're using drinking as a cheap substitute, or reckless emotional behaviors, right? Your binging of choice may not be necessarily food, but we use all of these compulsive behaviors to substitute what our souls are actually longing for. And so I've been able to pick that apart with people and start, and it's not even about going through their trauma or anything. It's not even about getting that deep. I'm not a psychologist. It's not about unpacking all the baggage, but it's just really about slowing down long enough to help them figure out what do you actually need? Yeah. What's your body actually asking you for? And let's start there, right? So a great tool that I've used with people is journaling to start to uncover what is some of this what am I hiding? What am I covering up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, you know, as a result of that people, how long, because the thing is, what I'm thinking is that, you know, someone comes to a consultation with you and then they're like, right, okay, I want to do this, but then they're a bit scared. They're a bit like, I'm not really sure about how much I want to open up to this woman. You know, how can she help me? All those talking chatter comes into their brain and starts like talking crap, basically, which is more or less that's normally what happens. But how do you kind of get to break through and break the barriers down for that person to actually open up to you?
I think part of it is creating a really safe space, really about modeling the non-judgmental approach that's necessary. And part of that is, I do a lot of that myself, is being really honest about the struggles that I've gone through, right? Like telling people, I would literally find myself bin after bin at the bottom of a pint of Ben and Jerry's. Or when I was in college, I drank so much to try to cover up and try to feel better. So part of that is creating that honesty and that space for people to feel really comfortable to open up. And part of it is to start to help them see, a lot of times we don't want to let go of that identity, because it's like, what will be left if I am no longer, that was like this thing, right? I had so long struggled with my weight and my health that it was a scary idea to be in health than to be in poor health.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like a part of this identity of this unhappy, overweight person. For me, right? So like showing them, kind of helping people open up to see there will be something else left after this. Like there can be other parts of you that emerge, but we can get really addicted to being in the trauma because it's hard to know who will we be without that identity wrapped around us.
Yeah. It's so true, because it's all about change, isn't it? It's change. Change is so hard. And like, what are you going to do without that? It's like having a coat, isn't it? You've got this coat and, oh no, I need that coat still. It's, even though it's ragged and it's horrible, you still need that coat because it's got a comfort there, isn't it? And if you haven't got that comfort anymore, what are you going to do? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, binge eating, I would eat until I was like completely numb. So there's a comfort in that. Right? Like there's this like fullness where you don't want to move and you're just like, it's almost like sleepy. Versus like, it feels like, oh man, it's going to be a lot more work to actually meet my own needs and go for a walk and take some time to not be stressed out, right? Where it's like really cheap and really quick just to like find yourself at the bottom of a bag of potato chips.
Yeah. And I know you pulled on a point about people and relationships, and about like how that can be kind of a trigger or something that, you know, people kind of sabotage themselves with, you know. So talk me through a bit more about that. What have you found with some people around that?
I found that particularly when working with female clients, when we're not always so great at asking for what we need, asking for the sweetness we may desire in our lives, right? So chocolate chip cookies can be a really great substitute for the sweetness that we're missing in our lives. And I think it's really hard to learn as a female to give yourself the sweetness that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Because we're so trained society to always be like looking out for everyone else's needs and to kind of like wait for this perfect knight in shining armor who can read your mind and meet your needs perfectly. So like when that doesn't happen, we get resentful and it's just like, well, fine, I'll just like eat brownies. That will give me the sweetness that I'm looking for, because I can't give it to myself because I'm taking care of everyone else. And this man can't read my mind. Right, so we end up settling it the way that we can, and so I've seen a lot with women of turning towards the sweet foods.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. We tend to sabotage ourselves in different ways, and you know, we have different triggers that come up against us, and sometimes we can see them, but we just don't bother with them, and sometimes we can't see them. So how do you pull out from people some of these sabotaging or triggers that people have built up throughout their life, really?
Yeah, it's a lot about doing some introspective work, right? Which is another thing that we're not very good at doing. We're not very good at actually taking the time and pausing and looking at what's going on, but it's about getting really curious and removing the judgment. Because when we're in judgment, there's no way at all to be getting the information and the feedback that we need to be getting. So it's just about helping people pause long enough to get really curious. And being the coach, it's easy to see things that people can't see for themselves because they're too often too close to the problem. So having another person, another set of eyes, who, not just a best friend, because sometimes our best friends also, they're almost like in the forest with us, right? Like our best friends are always on our sides. They're like going to take up arms for us. But we want someone who's a little objective so they can be like, you may not be in the right at that moment. You may actually be kind of causing some of the problems, right? So we need someone who's going to be objective enough to really help us see and start to pick apart some of those things that are triggering us. And some of it just comes through experimentation, right? Like having people track, oh, wow, I notice every Friday night, like for me, every Friday night I'm binging. So why? What's going on? Or I notice every time around my mother-in-law, I'm binge eating. What's going on, right? So when we can start to track and get some really good information, because it's easy for us to think, oh, wow, I'm doing this all the time. Like we can get really hypercritical of ourselves. So if we don't have any of that data to back it up, it can be hard because we can blow it up in our mind. So that's something I work with people on, is really tracking what are their habits look like, what's going on, so we can get a clear picture and then start to make some changes after we see what's going on.
No, definitely. And the thing is, what I find is that a lot of people don't see that they need the accountability, but like just what you explained, this is so hard for us to do on our own, but we think we have the power to do it on our own because we don't want to have to ask for help, do you know what I mean? So it's something that, you know, I really want to get out there to people, is that, you know, accountability works. It works.
I think it's kind of twofold. I think one, it's we don't want to ask for help. And two, if you are not ready to change, you know, asking for someone to help you will make it a lot harder to not change.
Yeah.
And so if you are not sick of your sickness, if you're not ready to do the work, right? Like, because I lost weight, I got help multiple times, but I wasn't really ready to actually commit to doing the work. And so if you are not in the place where you're really ready, you have to be the one, you have to be prepared. You have got to, no coach, no person, no one can make you do it. So I think that's another reason a lot of people, you know, when they decide not to sign up or for a program, it's because they're not really ready to do the work.
Yeah, and it's actually better for them not to sign up at that point.
Yeah.
Because they're not actually going to do the work. So then they're going to say, well, actually, it didn't work. Right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Well, you'll get out of it exactly what you put into it. So if you put in zero effort, you will get zero results.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's amazing how we can talk ourselves into the fact that the actual thing that we paid for didn't work, when actually, if we looked deeper into it, we could find that actually we were not ready to do the work, and that's why it didn't work. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, so a big part of someone's journey, though, in terms of stress eating, is around their relationship with food. What would you say would be the first steps that someone, if they didn't want to start, you know, paying for help at the moment, or they didn't feel that they were ready, what would you think would be the first steps that they could do or they could take?
I would have them start to look at what are their eating patterns and habits currently. So a lot of times I work with people, and it's so interesting because once they start tracking, they realize, oh, they're not eating anything until noon. And then they're so starving that they grab a cheeseburger and french fries, and then a milkshake, and then another cheeseburger, right? So part of again, I love data. So I'm really big about collecting information, because people, when they start to see that, oh wow, I'm really hungry because I'm not eating anything. And I think that's really different than someone who's trying to do intermittent fasting and they've got like this mindset around, this is my eating window, this is very intentional, versus someone who's, I'm not paying attention to my body and now I'm starving and it's too late, right? So I'm going to grab whatever is closest. So that's where the number one thing I would start to see, where are you eating? What kinds of food are you eating? And this is not about faking and pretending like you're eating a salad. Like if you're really eating 3 cheeseburgers a day at lunch, write that down so that you can start to see where you're eating patterns, because we can't really change something if we're not being aware and being honest about it. So it's about stripping down to that level of honesty and be like, wow, I really just ate 3 Snickers for a snack.
Yes.
Right. So,
and then I crashed and burned.
Then I needed a latte to pick me back up. So we want to start looking at what's happening in the body, what's happening to the blood sugar. And so they can start looking at that. And then I would say, once you're getting a clear baseline, I would start to look at your meal structure. And if you have protein, fat, and fiber in every meal, it is going to help your blood sugar, and it's going to make you much less likely to binge in the afternoon, because you're going to just be much more stable. It's going to help your mood. It's going to help your energy. It's going to help your relationships. So starting to build meals, even if you know, you're still going to have a whole pizza at night, right? Like what can you do? Like how can you start to add those things in so that you're being more conscientious? Or if you're going to have a glass of wine, can you have fiber, fat, and protein with it? So can you have some meat and cheese and some carrots? What can we do to start insulating the blood sugar at every turn? So it's not about stripping your life of all of the delicious food, but it's about how can I be most protecting and serving my body while enjoying some of these other foods.
Yeah, exactly. Now, how can, you know, you be more mindful about how your body interacts with these things, how you can be much more aware of what's happening in your body, how you're feeling, your emotions at the time. So yeah, it's really, really important. I wanted to talk about body confidence, and how that impacts on stress eating, and how that kind of can, you know, also sabotage someone. Because the thing is, it's not only the emotion around the eating, but also the emotions around how you look and how you look about how you feel, because that impacts so much as well.
Absolutely. This is huge. This is so huge. I think this impacts everyone, and I think particularly it does impact women. There's like an extra fine microscope around expectations and what your body should look like. And there's a lot, of the body positivity movement. And so people kind of get into this, how can I be body positive and want to improve my health, right? So are those things in conflict? And I don't think that they are. I think you can love your body. I can look at my body right now and say, wow, I love my body where I am. And I would like to be stronger because I don't want to be sick when I'm older, or I want to run a marathon, right? So I don't think it has to be an either or.
Yeah.
But there's a great exercise doing the mirror. There's like a couple of mirror exercises, but one is like you can like look at the body part. So for example, if you always say, I'm too chubby in my stomach, instead of saying that, say a nice thing about your belly every time you see it. Like, oh, that's like a really cute freckle. Like, oh, check that out, right? Like every single time, because the way that we think about something determines our experience about it. So we've got to change those thoughts that we have around our body parts. So that's a huge one that I always work with people on is take the power back to say, you know what? I still maybe I want to have a flatter stomach. Maybe that's true. Maybe I want to, because I want a strong core, because I want to support my back.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I have I have 2 slip discs in my back. And so for so long, it was like, I was thinking about, oh, like, wouldn't I look great with a 6-pack or like a flat stomach, right? Like, wouldn't that be awesome? But instead looking at like, I would love my core to be stronger to support my back, because I want to be able to walk around when I'm 60. Right. So those are some tips that I would use around the body confidence.
No, definitely. I use that all the time. I rub my belly. I love it.
And the belly.
I love my belly.
Yes, our belly is our intuition. So when we hate our belly, what we actually do is we cut ourselves off from our intuition.
Exactly.
Which makes it harder to make good decisions, which makes it harder for us to be making good relationship choices and career choices, because if we are so angry at our midsection, we literally are blocking that chakra, and it's going to make our lives so much harder when we're cut off from our source of creativity and our intuition.
Yeah, totally. I believe so. I'm always rubbing it.
Yeah, rub that belly. Exactly. Yeah.
Right, so Alyx, we're coming to the end now. So tell us what tips or strategies, last words that you have for our audience that you would like to share with them before we go off.
Yeah, that's really important. So my really biggest tip that I would say is starting to change the mindset from I can't eat that to I don't want to eat that. Because a lot of times we think, oh, if I eat intuitively, I'm going off the rails. My life is going to go up in flames. I'm only going to eat Cheetos and pizza and ice cream, right? So we have this idea that we can't have things that are not off limits because we're just going to go crazy. But I think when we get into deep partnership with ourselves, we can start to say, I can have that, but I don't want to have it because it doesn't make me feel good. I don't feel good when I eat an entire bag of Doritos.
Exactly.
Right? Like there's a part of my brain that is really excited when I used to eat a whole bag of Doritos, right? It's like crack. There's like this drug response. It changes my dopamine. I know these things, right? Dorito was my chip of choice. So it doesn't mean that, and it doesn't mean that now, oh, I can't eat Doritos. I can never eat another Dorito. And it doesn't even mean that sometimes I don't have Doritos. But it just means changing this relationship and taking the power back, because I can't do that is a victim mindset. Oh, I can't do that. It's so hard. Everything's so mean, right? Like that's very living in this space of being a victim, versus to say, I don't want to eat a whole bag of Doritos because I will feel like sick, and I love myself and I don't want to feel sick. So if we can start to move and take our power back and say, I can eat whatever I want, but there are some foods I choose not to eat, or I choose only to eat a little bit of them because they make me sick. It would be like if you have a peanut allergy and you're like, oh, I can't eat peanut butter in my life. So it will kill you if you eat too much, if you eat peanut butter, right? So like it would eventually kill me if all I ate all day, every day was Doritos. I would literally die. So why would I want to live in the victim mode around that, instead of saying, I can, and I don't want to eat in those quantities. I don't want to do that to my body anymore. So I think that was the biggest shift for me, was taking the spot of empowerment back and remembering that I had a choice for what I was going to engage in and what I was not going to engage in. And again, because our minds determine, so our thoughts determine our experience, when we can say from an empowered place, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to, it changes everything.
Completely. No, definitely. That's amazing ending. I love that. That's exactly what you need to be thinking about, guys. So if you have only come on just now, please go back and listen, because this has been amazing tonight and you really need to listen to this. So thank you, Alyx. Where can people find you? Have you got any freebies for our audience here?
Yes, I do. So there's like a couple of ways. You could go to my website, which is fullyalignedcoaching.com. On Facebook, my business page is Fully Aligned Coaching. And on Instagram, I'm at Alyx, which is ALYX, the Fully Aligned Coach. And there's a freebie on my website to help you start to lose weight if nothing else has been working for you. I also like to offer your listeners a free consultation. So reach out to me on any of the following ways, and I would be so happy to like put my thinking cap on, and we can start to see what are some of those blocks that are stopping you and really tripping you up right now. So I'd love to offer that as well.
Yeah. So you can get, I did put the link in the in my description, so of exactly where you can click in and get that free consultation off of Alyx. So make sure that you use it, guys. Make sure that you use it if you need it, even if it's just for a little chat. It's all good. Make sure that you go there, have a little chat with her, connect with her, find out with me, and take care. Have a great evening, and thank you again, Alyx.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Bye.